12 years ago, 4 paranormal investigators vanished inside an abandoned prison. 3 bodies were found. 1 camera recovered, and the host is still missing. But when her sister discovers the lost footage, she uncovers a horrifying truth, one that was never meant to be seen. In 2008, Riley Brennan, host of the ghost hunting show, Paranormal Paranoids, disappeared without a trace. At the beginning of the movie, Riley says she feels like she is being watched, like there are eyes on her, and she is so scared. She tries to say something more, but the camera glitches, cutting off her voice. Suddenly, a loud noise startles her, and the screen fades to black. This is the last time she was seen alive. When the camera comes back on, she opens the door and steps outside to investigate the source of the screams. She calls out for Mia, but demonic growls echo in response, and the footage cuts out once again. The hosts of the popular YouTube channel Paranormal Paranoids have been missing for a week, sparking intense speculation. Peter, Laura, David, and Riley were last seen near the abandoned town of Shelby Oaks in southern Darke County, Ohio. Police say the search continues, but leads are limited. Some believe the disappearance is a publicity stunt for their next episode. Authorities have found one of the group's 2 cameras, but the other is still missing. Next, we are introduced to Mia, Riley's sister, who says she's been searching for Riley for the past 12 years and wants us to know her the way she does. Mia explains that when they were kids, Riley was mature for her age, always thinking, figuring things out, and noticing things others didn't. While some people kept dream journals, Riley kept a dream sketchbook. Her dreams were very vivid, and sometimes she even drew her nightmares. In high school, Riley became more serious about art. Whenever she was performing, the real Riley seemed to disappear. She came alive on stage. She also got very good at pretending to be fine, even when she wasn't. So, with that kind of passion, it was no surprise when her channel became successful. Mia says that almost every time they filmed, they captured something that most paranormal researchers spend their whole lives trying to find. The reporter asks if she believes their videos were real, and Mia replies that she believes her sister isn't a liar. She says she tried talking to Riley about it, but after the prison episode, Riley became very quiet. Riley asks her team if they can feel the cold, but none of them do. Then she senses or sees something strange, which terrifies her, and she runs away screaming. Mia says a lot of people called bullshit on that, but then the uploads stopped, and the channel went dark. Some of the fans were worried, but most seemed to think it was a publicity stunt. And then, everything changed. After 5 days of their disappearance, people finally started taking it seriously, and sadly, that's when their fame truly began. After they went missing, people from all over the world started going through their videos, searching for answers. Detective Allen explains that security footage and card records showed the group's last purchase at a gas station just outside Shelby Oaks, confirming they made it that far. From there, investigators had to explore every possible destination, and the most obvious was the old amusement park. Mia says it's about 60 miles away, a place her mom loved visiting as a child. It once had a ballroom where bands played, the heart of Shelby Oaks, before a devastating fire in the late 90s forced it to close, and many now believe the park is haunted. Allen explains that Shelby Oaks has been a ghost town since then. For the paranormal paranoids, though, it was the perfect place to explore. It seemed like a promising lead, but ultimately led nowhere. Mia says she met Robert 2 years before Riley went missing. She'd always wanted to be a mother, and he'd always wanted to be a dad. They tried for a while, but it never happened. And after Riley disappeared, it just didn't feel like the right time anymore.
911. Hello, yes, I need help. Please send help. What kind of help do you need, sir? I need someone. I need someone right now. Sir, can you tell me what's going on? They broke in. They broke in. No one should be here. Someone broke in and they're still there? There's a lot of them. I don't know how many. Are they still there? I don't know what happened. I think they were murdered.
Tragically, Peter, Laura, and David were found dead in a cabin near the abandoned town of Shelby Oaks. A blood-smeared symbol marked the door, and Riley, the show's host, is still missing. Police recovered a video camera from the scene that may have captured the perpetrator. Alan says the video showed the suspect was a white male, around 6'1" or 6'2", based on the window's height, and he was wearing gloves, which gave them almost nothing to go on. But there was something else. They watched that tape hundreds of times before releasing it, never noticing it then, but now, he can't get it out of his head. A clip shows Riley describing her night terrors. She'd see a man in her window and feel trapped. She says it sounds strange, but she'd also see images of a school, a prison, and numbers. Mia recalls Riley's childhood night terrors. She'd wake up screaming, claiming a man was watching her through her window, but they never found anyone, only a crack in the glass. Riley outgrew it at 13, but the last time Mia saw her, she had that same terrified look. Mia says there's been a lot of debate about what Riley said, but after watching it countless times, she's certain it was, Mia, he's back. When they were kids, their mom carved their initials into the trees outside so they could always find their way home. If they got lost, they'd follow the markings back. Now, she just wants to lead Riley home. Later, a man comes to Mia's house, and when she asks if he needs help, he says, "She finally let me go," before suddenly shooting himself in the head. Mia is left in complete shock, and as he falls to the ground, she notices a tape in his hand labeled Shelby Oaks. That night, Mia plays the tape, in which Riley welcomes the viewers to the channel, saying they're exploring the mysterious world of ghost towns. Behind her lies the abandoned town of Shelby Oaks on the edge of Darke County, Ohio. She explains that some believe police corruption caused the town's downfall, but no one really knows, and that's why they're there. Next, Riley stares at a building, fear on her face, and when David asks what's wrong, she says they should leave because something doesn't feel right. The video cuts, and the next clip begins with Riley standing in the Shelby Oaks amusement park. She explains that it was once the town's main attraction, but closed after several disappearances and a fire, and is now left forgotten in the woods. Riley tells David she's dreamed of this place, and that their mom visited it as a child. She then carves RM into a tree, saying Mia will understand. The team then enters a building, thinking it's abandoned, but soon they notice a man standing just outside the door, watching them. A chill runs through the group as he stands there motionless for several seconds before slowly turning and walking away. David follows him out, but the man is gone and a chair begins to rock on its own. David spins around, only to see Riley standing in the doorway, staring at him blankly, and without saying a word, she turns and storms off into another room. The next clip plays, set late at night. The sound of jackals howling echoes all around, growing louder and closer. Peter whispers that he didn't want to say this in front of the girls, but he's really starting to freak out. The noises seem to come from every direction, circling them, closing in, and then the clip suddenly cuts. Next, Peter tells David that he can't do this anymore, when a sudden knock from outside makes everyone jump, but David tells the others to stay back. He then steps out to check and scans the dark surroundings, but sees no one. Cautiously, he moves closer to the wall, trying to look behind it, when suddenly, something lunges at him from the shadows. Mia gets terrified as the camera shakes violently, and she watches in horror as the perpetrator tears open David's stomach, and his scream echoes as the entity brutally kills him. In the next clip, the camera seems to be held by someone hiding inside the house. The view is shaky, moving slowly through the dark until, without warning, the figure suddenly lunges at Riley. Mia watches in horror as Riley screams for help, and the face of a man flashes on the screen before the video freezes, then fades to black, revealing a reflection of an inhuman figure on the screen. Trembling with fear, Mia slowly turns her head to look behind her, just as a thin crack spreads across the window glass. She rushes out of the house, clutching a bat, her breath unsteady. Looking up at the window, she feels her heart pounding in her chest. When Robert calls out to her, asking what's wrong, and still shaken, she says there's something he needs to see. She shows him the videos, and when he asks how, she says it was in his hand. He asks if he brought it here, and she nods. He asks why she didn't take them to the police, and she replies that she needed to see it for herself first. The next day, Alan tells them the man's name is Wilson Miles, born in Shelby Oaks in 1981. He served 5 years at the old Darke County Correctional for aggravated assault and battery, but after his release, he disappeared until recently. Alan then carefully asks if Mia has any reason to believe this might be connected to her sister. Robert asks why she is withholding evidence, and she says they'll just use the tape to wrap up the story. She reminds him that everyone already gave up on Riley, and to the cops, this will be nothing new. Once the public sees it, they'll drag Riley's name through the dirt again, and it won't stop unless they find her first. Later, Mia visits the library to research the prison and learns about a riot that killed 18 people, with inmates blaming demonic forces for the chaos. Searching online, she finds an article titled "The Mark of the Incubus," and when she opens it, she sees a photo of a double cross carved into a tree. Mia visits Morton, who tells her that on the day of the violent riot, a computer glitch unlocked every cell in Block 3, known as the Grave, because its inmates were as good as dead. Cell 37 belonged to Miles, a quiet, isolated man who spoke to no one. When chaos erupted, his cell stood open, but he didn't flee. He just stared out the window, detached from the carnage, and when it ended, he was still there. Morton says Miles carried something dark, something that brought only death and decay. Then he asks, "Are you sure he's dead?" And she replies, "Very." That night, Mia watches the videotape again, but this time, she notices something that chills her to the bone. Her eyes widen as she rewinds the tape over and over, and just behind Riley, an inhuman figure stands lurking, barely visible, yet unmistakably there. Mia tells Robert that Wilson Miles was born in Shelby Oaks in 1981, just as the town began to fall apart. By 2000, only the amusement park and the Dark County Correctional Facility remained. She points to two photos, one from 2002 and another from 2007, 5 years after Wilson was imprisoned. Robert asks what this has to do with Riley, and Mia explains that Riley's nightmares stopped when she turned 13, the same year Wilson was imprisoned. 5 years later, when he was released, Riley vanished. She didn't grow out of it. It was real. Robert asks if she thinks Wilson was the one watching Riley through her window, and she says no. She then pulls out an old photograph, saying, "I'm going to tell you something I've never told anyone because I've tried to believe it was a false memory." She says, when Riley was 9, she'd been screaming and crying every night, so I decided to sleep in her room. She finally slept peacefully, but I didn't, because sometime after Riley drifted off, I heard scratching at the window. I turned over in bed, looked across the room, and I saw it. She says, "I never told Mom or Riley, and after that, I never saw it again." She shows him a picture and says, "Until now." She believes that this thing used Wilson, possessed him, controlled him, whatever you want to call it, to get what it had wanted ever since the first time it looked through her window. Robert coldly tells Mia that she needs help before quietly getting up and walking away. Later, Mia goes through Riley's old box and finds a book named Demonolatry. Curious, she opens it, and on the very first page, she sees an image marked with the same strange symbol carved into the tree. She flips through the pages and learns about the incubus, a demonic entity that preys on sleeping women for sexual intercourse. She then flips through Riley's old sketchbook, her heart sinking as she stops on a page that shows a drawing of a demonic figure peering through a window. Suddenly, Mia hears something, the sound of heavy, raspy breathing, and as she slowly looks up, she freezes, seeing a dark, dog-like creature at a distance. Terrified, Mia slowly rises to her feet, never taking her eyes off it. The creature begins to move toward her as she reaches for the door, her breath quickening, but before she can react, the creature vanishes. Later, she watches Riley's videos on her laptop, where Riley tells the team that she feels unusually cold in front of a certain cell. Mia notices something in the video, and when she pauses it, she's horrified to realize it's cell number 37, Wilson Miles' cell. She immediately rushes to the prison and, through the window of Wilson's cell, notices that the Ferris wheel from the amusement park is visible. Lowering her flashlight, she spots footprints on the dusty floor beneath her, as if someone had been standing there for years, staring out the window. As she scans the room, she notices something carved into the wall. Trembling with fear, she moves closer and sees the letters RM etched there. Then, as she shines her flashlight around, she spots the demonic symbol on the wall with the words Almighty Tarian written beneath it. Suddenly, a demonic voice echoes through the cell block, and trembling with fear, when she turns her head, the voice echoes again, causing her to stumble out of the cell. In the darkness, she hears heavy footsteps approaching, as if something is emerging from the cell, and before she can comprehend what's happening, a dog lunges at her, followed by a demonic entity that emerges from the cell. Terrified, Mia runs for her life, gets into her car, and speeds away from the prison. She goes straight to the amusement park and heads to the tree beneath the Ferris wheel, where Riley had once carved their initials. Overcome with emotion, she breaks down in tears when that demonic growl echoes around her once again. Heart pounding, she turns around in fear, but no one is there. Mia cautiously walks away, scanning the area, when a dog suddenly startles her. She freezes in fear as it stares and growls at her, but then it turns and runs off. Curious, Mia follows the dog and soon reaches a small cabin. As she approaches, she notices several of those same wooden stick symbols driven on the ground, and before she can make sense of it, a woman asks, "May I help you?" Startled, Mia apologizes, saying she didn't realize anyone still lived out here, to which the woman replies, "I've been here since before I can remember, which isn't very far." Mia asks if she owns a dog, explaining that she followed one there, and the woman says, "He's probably around somewhere, thinking he can get himself a midnight snack." Mia steps closer, introduces herself, and the woman responds, "I'm Norma." With trembling hands, Norma shakes hers and asks, "Won't you come inside?" As they step inside, Mia shows Norma a photo of Riley and asks if she's seen the girl before. Norma studies it for a moment and says she can't say that she has. Just then, Mia hears faint noises coming from upstairs, as if someone is moving around. She asks if Norma lives out there alone, and Norma replies, "No," before turning and walking away. Uneasy, Mia quietly picks up a knife from the table and follows her. When she enters the next room, she finds Norma sitting in a chair, but notices dark stains on the wall, the same kind she saw in Wilson's cell. Norma asks what the story is about the girl, and Mia replies that she's her sister. Norma then tells her to entertain the old lady, saying she hasn't seen anyone but her boy in she doesn't know how long time. When Mia asks if that's who she lives with, Norma nods and says, "Right behind you." Mia turns around and freezes when she sees a framed photograph, revealing that Norma is Wilson's mother. Norma then asks if Mia has any children, and when Mia says no, she asks why. Mia replies that she just never found the time. Norma asks, "You sure there's nothing more to the story?" And when Mia asks what she means, Norma says it's always about timing. Sometimes it gives, sometimes it takes. As Mia turns, she notices a staircase in the corner, and Norma asks, "Would you still want one?" Mia says she's actually kind of hungry and might take her up on that snack. Norma nods and says, "Of course," before slowly getting up from her chair and limping out of the room. As soon as Norma leaves, Mia quickly takes out her phone and texts Robert, "Turn on Find My, send the police, no questions." As Mia scans the room and starts toward the stairs, her eyes fall on a file lying on the table. She picks it up and flips through the pages, finding several photographs, but freezes when she comes across one of Wilson with Riley. Uneasy, she turns the page and finds another photo showing Riley pregnant, followed by several deeply disturbing images. Horrified, Mia realizes that Wilson had repeatedly impregnated Riley and buried their babies in the ground. Norma says, "You should be proud of Riley." And as Mia turns, Norma continues, "She was strong, just like I was." Mia shouts, "Where is my sister?" To which Norma yanks a carpet aside and reveals a hidden door in the floor. She unlatches it, lifts it open, and then slowly descends into the dark cellar below. Mia cautiously follows Norma through a dark tunnel until she reaches a small room and freezes when she sees Riley inside, imprisoned. Her voice trembles as she calls out, telling her it's her, Mia. She reaches out a hand and pleads, "Come to me," but Riley doesn't respond. Desperate, Mia urges her to listen, saying she knows she's still in there. Slowly, Riley turns her head toward her, her expression blank and distant. As Riley approaches her, Mia gets up and whispers, "I found you." She tells Riley they're going home, then quickly scans the room. Spotting a set of keys nearby, she grabs them, unlocks the door, and helps Riley out. But in her haste, she forgets the knife she left behind. As they run, Mia glances back and sees Norma standing in the shadows, her eyes glowing in eerie, unnatural light. As they come out, Mia looks down and sees the demon looming behind Norma. She slams the door shut and latches it tightly, but as she turns to lead Riley away, Riley suddenly says no and bolts away. Mia calls after her and runs in pursuit, only to find the cellar door now wide open, and Riley rushing upstairs. Mia follows her and finds Riley standing outside a room, clutching a fireplace poker, and before she can say anything, the sound of a child crying echoes from inside. Trembling, Mia slowly grabs the doorknob and pushes the door open, and what she sees freezes her blood. Norma is inside, slicing her own arm, letting her blood drip over a baby. Then, with her hands raised, she chants, Almighty Tarian, incubus of the North, shield this Cambion. Riley lunges at her, but Norma stops her, and Mia is thrown aside as well. Norma then lifts Riley into the air, and Riley's eyes widen, seeing the demon standing behind Norma. The demon hurls Riley to the floor, and Norma continues her ritual with trembling devotion. Mia slowly gets up and crawls toward her unconscious sister, desperate to help. And as the ritual reaches its end, Norma collapses to her knees. Confused and terrified, Mia looks around the room, and her eyes fall on the wall. Carved there are her and Riley's initials, surrounded by photos of her, Robert and Riley. Norma weakly crawls toward the wall and smears her blood across the photos as she mutters incoherently, while Mia can only watch helplessly as Norma collapses, takes her final breaths, and dies before her eyes. Riley is later admitted to the hospital, her body weak but alive, and she sees that Mia has brought her child along as well. A news report announces that Riley has been found alive, discovered locked in the basement of a house in Shelby Oaks. The Dark County Police Department confirms they have recently uncovered footage related to the case. Coming up next, they will be airing the shocking tape that captures the final moments of Peter, Laura, and David, as well as the abduction of Riley. Janet asks Mia if she's seen any improvement in Riley since bringing her home, and Mia says it's only been a day. But Riley has shown small signs of awareness. Janet then asks how Robert is handling everything, and Mia explains he's taking some time, which they both agree is best for now. When Janet asks about the baby, Mia smiles gently and says he's wonderful, admitting she was hesitant at first, but assuring her he'll be safe here. Later, Mia asks Janet how things are going, and she replies that they've nearly finished editing everything they filmed earlier, adding that this will make a perfect ending to the story. Before leaving, she says, "You told the police you just happened across that house," asking, "How did you really find Riley?" To which Mia says she guess something wanted her to. Meanwhile, Riley approaches the baby with a pillow in her hands, ready to smother him. When Mia calls out to her, Riley insists it has to die, but Mia asks her to think about what she's doing. Riley says, "You don't know what's inside him," and Mia replies, "I know my sister isn't a murderer." She urges Riley to step back, but Riley whispers, "I love you," before turning toward the baby. As Mia rushes towards her, the window glass shatters, and as Mia tries to stop her, Riley falls out the window. Mia calls out Riley's name, and she suddenly wakes up, but then the sound of wolves echoes nearby. Moments later, 3 wolves lunge at her, attacking viciously until they tear her apart and begin feeding on her. Mia watches helplessly as the demon creeps up behind her and places her hand on her shoulder. The scene flashes back to the night she first saw it peering through Riley's window. In that moment, Mia realizes the demon had been controlling both her and Riley all along, using them to bring its baby into the world and raise it. And the movie ends there.